What's going on, guys? This is the Kentucky Prime Sports Podcast. My name's Devin Hood here with Gibb and Burke. We're going to run through some Kentucky news. It's kind of a slow week this week. First of the year, we don't have a lot going on, but we do have a couple talking points that we're going to hit tonight, right?
Right.
So first things first, we've lost a couple wide receivers now to Nebraska. It's not the 90s anymore. I didn't know Nebraska was any good, but apparently Dane Key and Hardly Gilmore think so.
Yeah, bit surprised by the Dane Key decision to go there. I thought for sure he'd going down to Georgia because, he's chasing a ring. Hardly Gilmore, from what I've heard, he was kind of the black sheep of the wide receiver room. And apparently the only friend he had in that locker room was that wide receiver coach.
Yeah, DeKel Shorts.
Yeah.
Who also, at the beginning of the offseason went to Nebraska. I don't have a big issue with that, apart from Matt Rule coming out in his press conference after we got the running back from Nebraska and, talking about tampering. He said that Dante Dowdell didn't want to leave Nebraska. He loved it here. He really liked everything we had going on, but he's getting some offers before he even hits the portal to, get into the portal. Now Kentucky loses their wide receiver coach to Nebraska, and then, Dane Key, he was in the portal as it was, but Hardly Gilmore, he had moved into his new apartment that he was going into, and then all of a sudden he hits the portal and goes to Nebraska. That sounds like tampering 101, don't it?
Yeah, for sure.
It's an awfully quick change-up.
Yeah, hey, I'm moving into my apartment, looking forward to the next year. I'm going to be, wide receiver 2 at least. You maybe think Jamori Macklin's ahead of him on the depth chart at that point, but, somebody that could have moved their way into wide receiver 1 at Kentucky, and now he's going to Lincoln, Nebraska.
I can honestly say I'll hardly miss him, to be honest with you.
Hardly going to miss him. I like that, Bert. It's kind of one, though, like you said. Was he the problem in the wide receiver room?
Yeah, he's kind of that black sheep, like I was saying. Kind of just kind of outing himself from the rest of the crowd.
Yeah, we've had a lot of the culture issues have been thrown around this offseason, or even, back during the season. And it sounds like that wide receiver room could have potentially been a lot of that culture issue. It's going to be interesting to see, all the guys they have coming in out of the portal to take over those wide receiver spots. Obviously getting Jamori Macklin back is huge. Hopefully they're able to use him properly this upcoming offseason. And then into the season, which leads us into our next talking point. What does Stoops have to do? How many wins do you have to see on the schedule to feel confident about his ability to coach this team?
For me, we got to at least be bowl eligible. We can't be going back to the Joker years where we're just hoping and praying we're at least bowl eligible. But I feel like that's kind of what we're leaning to next year.
Yeah.
I'd like to see more, but being realistic, I think 6 is the target number.
You think 6?
Yeah.
What do you think, Gib?
Ideally, I'd like to see 7. Maybe get a lucky 8. Hopefully scrape by. Give us a decent bowl, but I don't see anything miraculous happen. I don't see no national championships, no playoffs anytime soon.
No, I'm like you. I think the magic number for Stoops next season is 7.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you don't get to 7, I think no matter what happens, he could honestly come out and win 8 or 9 games. And I think there's still going to be a vocal crowd that are saying, hey, it's still time. But I think 7 is still the big number that he has to get. I agree. I think 6 is probably a lot more likely. But, if you go into a bowl game like we're watching now, North Texas and Texas State, if you're 6-6, that's kind of one of those bowls. It's like hey, pat on the back, good job, you did something.
You tried.
Yeah, you tried. Yeah, here's a bowl game for getting 6 wins. The media kind of clowns on those 6-win bowl teams because that's the bottom of the barrel at that point.
Right.
And honestly, it sucks going into one of those bowl games and seeing the 6-6 team because half your guys are going to be sitting out.
Yeah.
Or they're going to be getting ready for the draft or this or that. So you don't even really see your team play in the bowl. You see a skeleton crew out there.
Yeah. Well, that's no, obviously not this season, but the year before, not last year, but the year before when we played Iowa again in the Music City Bowl, and we got beat, 31-0. We didn't have Will Levis. he was sitting out for draft preparation. Didn't have any, good wide receiver at that point to throw to. So we had a true freshman, I believe, Destin Wade back there. And, we looked terrible. That wasn't the Kentucky team that, they didn't play hot that year. They went, got 7 wins. But that still wasn't that team that went out and got 7 wins.
Right. And, another thing, with the schedule next year, it's the same schedule as this year, but, flip-flop.
Just reversed.
And if anything, the easier part of that schedule would have been this year.
Yeah.
Next year, it's only going to get harder. You got to go to Georgia. Where else? You got to play
at Auburn.
Who else? There's one more.
At Florida?
No, we play Florida at home.
Was it Florida at home?
Maybe that's it then.
You got to go at South Carolina.
At South Carolina. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, that's a tough slate of games.
Not any easier than it was this year.
No, and like you said, if anything, this was the year it was, set up easier for them. You got to go to Vandy.
Yeah.
Traditionally that's not a game that, strikes fear in the eyes of the Kentucky Wildcats. But, Diego Pavia is going to be back there again.
For like his 15th season or something like that.
He's coming in, strong. He's going to be a doctor at the end of this year.
Yeah, probably.
Dr. Pavia. That sounds like somebody off a soap opera, actually. Yeah. Days of Our Lives. But, yeah, so I don't – it's going to be a rough season. Like I said, I think the magic number is 7. I don't see 7 wins on the schedule, though. My question, though, too, and, this may not be one you all even have an answer to off the top of your head, but you can kind of contribute. What is the difference between go ahead and getting rid of Stoops, which at this point is too late, but the buyout's not going to be that much less next season?
I think it's going to be $30 million next year. Around $30 million.
Around $30 million. And then you're going to pay him out the salary for this upcoming season. He makes $9 million a year. So it went from, hey, we're going to buy you out at $44 million to now it's $39 million. In the big picture, what's $6 million?
You got to think maybe contract with Pope coming in and everything. They were like, hey, we need a break before we have to do any type of more buyouts or any extra spending.
But speaking of Pope, Cal saved Kentucky $44 million as well.
He did. Thank God.
That number keeps popping up.
Maybe, I hate to be negative, but Stoops could have saved us $44 million. But, I know I couldn't do it. If somebody was like, hey, we signed this contract, we owe you $44 million, you want to help us out a little bit? I'd say, probably not, buddy.
Well, from what I've heard, this year they were kind of quote unquote hoping for money from the SEC to kind of bring in NIL money. Now next year that money's guaranteed to come from the SEC. And Mitch Barnhart actually held a meeting with 40 of the most generous donors for UK athletics and kind of set them down and kind of had a come to Jesus meeting with them, saying, "Hey, here's where we're at financially. Here's where we need to be by the end of next season."
And if we ever get a lottery winner out of not necessarily this group, we got a couple Louisville fans here, but if I ever hit the lottery, I'd be a donor.
I'd be a donor.
I want a parking spot at Kroger Field. I want mine to be right up front. I actually want to bump the Crafts down and take that spot.
So you're signing over your whole lottery ticket?
No, only it depends on how much I win.
I want 4 seats at Rep Arena.
If I win $20 million, obviously I don't have that much pull. After the IRS comes through and takes 10 or 12 million, and then Kentucky comes through and takes another 3 million. 20 million don't get you as far as let's just say 500 million.
20 million ain't what it used to be.
No. But if I hit like the big Powerball Mega Millions that they had a couple weeks ago,
I think you're gonna be sitting pretty.
Yeah. If I walk away with anything over 100 million, I'm donating.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna get a parking spot. I'm getting floor seats. I might be the coach.
You might be taking Mark Post's parking spot.
Yeah, I may. Just because I can.
Yeah, just because you can.
Which that's actually, bring up parking spots. That's funny. Talk about the issues, the culture issues in the wide receiver room. Everybody goes back to Lynn Bowden. Off the field, Lynn Bowden was a character who he is, right?
Yeah.
Rumor is he actually had taken Mark Stoops' parking spot whenever they'd go to practice. But you can do that whenever you're rushing for, 300 yards in a game and you're beating Louisville by yourself.
Yeah, but, what kind of message is this into the rest of the players?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm untouchable. Y'all can't beat me.
Right. And I think that's kind of not necessarily somebody this year took, Stoops' parking spot. But I think that was more of the attitude you had this year, but we weren't getting the results from it.
Right.
A lot of the team was like, Lynn Bowden's going to do Lynn Bowden things, but we know on Saturday he's going to come out and he's going to, try his damnedest to make sure we get a win.
Yeah.
Whereas, some of these guys are coming out and, hey, we're going to throw it, it's going to hit you right in the chest, and then you're going to tip it up in the air and it's going to get intercepted
and
and
then
return
whine
for a touchdown.
and then whine about it for 20 minutes afterwards.
Yeah. So, I think for better or worse, a big change is coming to the Kentucky football program. I just hope we don't get left behind in this, potential new era that's coming in.
Yeah, agreed.
Because, as much as I appreciate everything Mark Stoops has done for the program, it comes a time where you just need, fresh blood in there to get some things done. And I think we've seen that with the Kentucky basketball team.
Yeah.
John Calipari, is great at that role of head coach. I'm not going to say he's a great coach, but he's great in that role.
Right.
But it was time for a fresh face at Kentucky, and we've seen the great things that Mark Pope has done for this Kentucky basketball team. Obviously, last week got that win over Brown before the new year. They covered the 25.5-point spread. That was something that, to be honest with you, I didn't think that was going to happen.
Did not anticipate that.
They hadn't played the hottest recently, so I thought 25.5 points was pretty tight. Especially, Brown has played some good teams this year. They've already played Kansas.
I think they're third in the Ivy League this year.
Yeah, they looked decent early on. They ended up getting beat, pretty bad by Kansas. Yeah, so we were able to come out, cover that 25.5-point spread, ended up winning by 30, 33, 34, something, yeah. Which leads us into our next talking point. Kentucky, top 10 matchup tomorrow against Florida.
Dogfight.
That's going to be a good game.
That's going to be a dogfight.
Well, what do you need to see out of them come game time to have a pretty good chance to come out with a win over Florida?
I think Lamont Butler needs to have a day tomorrow. It's a top 5 matchup between him and Clayton Walker for Florida. Lamont Butler needs to dictate that game for the whole 40 minutes he's out, or not 40 minutes he's going to be out there, but for the amount of time he's going to be out there.
Yeah, you got to assume he's going to play a lot.
He will play probably.
Assuming he doesn't get in foul trouble or hurt, anything like that.
And I think he's got to stay out of foul trouble.
Yeah.
If he's in foul trouble, we're in trouble.
Yep, you seen that in the game against Brown, actually. He got picked up a quick first foul, and, it was kind of like, well, what are we going to do? Are we going to have to sit him? Are we going to be able to play him? They were able to work through that, obviously. But whenever you play a top 10 team like Florida, you can't have your guy getting into foul trouble, 16, 15 minutes left in the first.
Which with Brown, we still got Travis Perry who can come in and fill that role, not nowhere near as proficient as Lamont Butler. But, against Brown, he seemed more comfortable. He didn't seem as skittish as he had been against, like, Ohio State or Gonzaga. But, which brings my point. Travis Perry needs to come in there and have that confidence about him. Not saying he's got to go out there and score 25 points and, just dictate the whole game, but he just needs to play his game the best way that he can.
Yeah, I think the big thing for Travis Perry right now is, not necessarily look to be a scorer, because if he's on the floor, you got to assume, Otega Oweh's probably out there, Kobe Brea's out there, look to facilitate.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be the big thing for him coming in that backup spot. We don't need you to score. We don't need you to make your own shot. We need you to facilitate the basketball.
Run the offense.
Yep. Talking about running the offense, Trent Noah, another Kentucky guy, looked pretty good against Brown in that limited action he got.
I wish we could see more Trent Noah. He's not scared to pull the trigger behind the 3-point line. He is not scared at all, and I like that.
I need Trent Noah's confidence to be translated to Kobe Bryant.
Yes.
For sure.
Yes.
That'd be a dangerous player.
It's like he's just scared to shoot because he's scared he's going to miss.
Yeah.
You can't be scared to miss. You're going to miss.
Yeah. Yeah, Trent Noah is not scared to miss.
No, he's not.
I
like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
And, that's the biggest strength of this Kentucky team that we've heard all season is, hey, they're shooting.
Yeah.
But, there's times it seems like, we're getting a lot of pump fakes. We're getting too many pump fakes. We're getting maybe too many passes out of an open shot, obviously to another open shot. But, hey, if you're open on a 3-point line, you don't have to pass the ball.
Pull the trigger. Pull it.
Shoot it.
Like, I love the selfless play and the extra pass. It always feels great when it goes in.
We don't have to always look for the extra pass.
But, yeah, I was like, sometimes you can be selfish. Nobody's going to blame you.
Yeah. Especially if you're Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
And at the beginning of the season, you're shooting, 60, 70% from three.
It's just like if Kobe Bryant is open on the wing, but he makes that extra pass to Ainsley Almanor in the corner, I'd much rather have Kobe Bryant take that shot on the wing than Almanor in the corner.
Yeah. What do you think, Gib? What's your looking at the matchup? What do you think's got to happen?
I think we need to make sure to deny their shooting because Florida's a fairly decent shooting team. So we need to make sure we stay tight on defense, stay tight on the perimeter. We can't get dug into these holes.
Yeah.
Because we've all seen what happens. Our guys get discouraged. They go on, other teams go on 10, 12-point runs. We're playing catch-up the rest of the game. We can't be doing that.
Yeah.
Did y'all hear about the 7'9" kid Florida has? He's not playing, but can you imagine playing against somebody who's 7'9"?
Yeah.
All he's got to do is put his hand up and he can grab a rim.
Well, I think there comes a point in basketball where you're too tall.
Yeah, you can be too tall.
Yeah, and I think he is. The mobility just not there for being 7'9". There's another guy that had made the rounds on the internet a few years ago. He was a foreigner. I don't remember what his name was.
I know you're a real scrawny kid.
Yeah, and he was just too tall.
It's so slow.
Yeah,
so slow.
Yeah, at some point you become clumsy.
Yeah,
I would say you lose coordination at being so big.
Yeah, but I don't know. Do you ever think we'll see him play at Florida, Bert?
Well, he's redshirting this year.
I feel like he's more of a novelty piece.
Maybe. I mean, he'll never be a superstar, I don't think, just because of that mobility issue.
Yeah, I feel like he's one of those guys that, not necessarily talking bad about Big Z, but kind of like that. It's like, hey, we've got a guy that can do everything.
Yeah.
Florida's like, hey, we got a guy that's 7'9".
Yeah.
If we put him out there, he doesn't even have to jump to dunk.
I mean, all you got to do is just space out your offense, and you got him beat.
Yeah.
But that paint is going to be protected.
Yeah, it is.
It will be.
I would love to see, like, a one-on-one matchup between somebody like that, 7'9", and then a speedy, small guard.
Yeah.
Not necessarily small, but like a John Wall type.
Yeah.
Just to see, is he able to change direction quick enough to get around somebody that can put their arm up and touch the top of the backboard?
I think it'd be interesting to see a matchup between him and a guy like Amari Williams. Amari Williams, he's a big guy.
Yeah.
Big, muscular, strong. We saw it with Big Z last year. Yeah, he was 7'2" or whatever he was, but he was about 130 pounds soaking wet.
Yeah,
and he just got manhandled down the paint.
Yeah. Yeah, that is true. So, top 10 matchup, like I said, I think the Cats can pull this one out. I think it starts with not getting in that hole like Gibb was talking about at the beginning of the game. Come out in that first 5 minutes, make sure you get your punch in, but also after that, first media timeout, keep the foot on the gas.
Right.
That's something we've seen this Kentucky team kind of struggle with is, hey, they'll get up, 20-7. But then you go into that under 12, under 10 range in that first half, and now instead of 35-10, you're looking at 25-15, 25-18.
They need to come out shooting that first half. They've had some really sluggish first halves this year, and they really need to come out firing first in that first half.
Yeah, I agree with that. With that being said, will you give me a game prediction and an MVP, Bert?
Game prediction. I'm predicting 81-77, Cats on top. Player of the game, Mr. Lamont Butler. Got to have a good game out of him tomorrow.
I agree with that. I think I'm going to go final score. I'm right around that 80 number like everybody else. Tyler wasn't able to join us tonight. I believe his prediction was 82-75.
Right.
Kentucky. I feel like that 80 number is kind of like the threshold that we're at now. Yeah. If you score over 80, you got a really good chance to win. Anything under that, it kind of gets a little hairy. I'm going to go 86-79. I think Florida's able to keep it tight. I think this is one of those games like we'll see in the SEC this year. It really comes down to home court advantage.
Yeah.
If you're the home team, I think you're going to be favored. SEC is going to be a gauntlet this year for sure.
And I think we got the advantage tomorrow. It's an early game.
Yeah.
It's always a disadvantage to the away team who has to travel the day before and then get up early that next day and go play.
Yeah.
11 a.m. tip-off time.
Yeah, and that's one thing too. They're coming up from Gainesville, Florida.
That's a haul.
That's a drive.
It's a drive, and it's going to be cold here. I don't know if they like the cold like the Dolphins.
They don't like the cold.
Their coach is not Mike McDaniel.
Nope.
So I don't know how Todd Golden feels about the cold weather.
Yeah, creepy old Todd Golden.
You said creepy. I wasn't going to bring it up, but did we ever get any clarification about those allegations?
It just kind of disappeared. Nothing ever came of it.
I mean, I really expected a suspension.
I expected a firing.
Yeah, I mean,
you don't want that following your program.
But maybe they did some internal investigations and found out there was nothing there.
Maybe. I don't know.
But, so I'm going to say, that was my final score. And then MVP, I'm going to go Otega-Owe.
I like it.
He's one that, he's averaging like 16 points a game, but he's putting up a lot of shots. I think he's got to have a more efficient game tomorrow. And I think that kind of plays in with everybody else. If Lamont Butler's playing well, then Otega's going to play well. Kobe Brea's going to play well. So I think all that kind of plays in with each other. I think Otega-Owe has a good game, but also more of an efficient game than he's had lately.
Yeah, I like to see him get his groove back. Early on in the year, he really helped us, offensively. But here, past couple games, he's kind of simmered down a little bit. It'd be nice to see him get back on his horse and get back to it.
Yeah, I agree with that. What do you think, Gib?
So I'm predicting a pretty high scoring affair, or a higher scoring affair. Say 89-85 Cats. I'm going to say this is going to be a close one. But I'd say we're going to pull out the win. Especially after, losing to Georgia in football this season. There's some bad blood there again. A little extra incentive.
You mean losing to Florida? Losing to Florida?
Yeah.
You said Georgia.
Oh, my bad.
No, we lost to Georgia and Florida. We lost to them.
But, yeah, losing to Florida.
Gibbs just putting the salt in the wound.
It happens.
That is true. We've not, lost to Florida in football and basketball. I'd love to know the last year. We don't have a stat person here with us. But when was the last time Kentucky lost to Florida in both sports?
I'm going to say it's been a minute.
Probably been a minute,
yeah,
right?
I don't have an actual I know. Schedules up.
They beat us in Rupp last year in overtime, didn't they?
That sounds right. But we beat them in football.
We did beat them in football. I can't remember when the last time that was.
Who do you think your MVP is going to be, Gib?
I'm going to go with old Jackson Robinson.
Yeah, that's somebody that didn't come up at all tonight. I'm glad you brought him up, Gib, because that's a centerpiece to the offense when he's playing well.
Yeah. Coming to the season, we thought he was going to be that
the
guy,
dude.
that dude. And he just kind of hasn't really performed that well this year.
I feel like he's going to handle the pressure of a big SEC game, and I feel like he's going to come out and have himself a game.
I love that.
Yep.
I hope he does. I mean, I would be fine with any of these predictions we got going on as long as Kentucky wins, right?
That's all that matters.
Cats on top.
But, I mean, it may come to the point in this season where we do have to pick them to lose.
That time will come.
Yeah.
As talented as this SEC season is, there's going to be games where we get blown out by 20 points.
Yeah. I'm not looking forward to playing Tennessee or Auburn.
Especially at Tennessee or Auburn.
Yeah.
That's going to be a doozy.
Yeah, those are two teams that are playing at the top of their game right now, and it's only January. And you got to kind of assume they're only going to get better.
Auburn might be the best team in the country.
Yeah, I was really kind of surprised that they didn't make that jump over Tennessee when they beat who did they beat recently? It was somebody. They blew them out.
Right.
I mean, as they have been all season. But I was really kind of surprised that they hadn't made the jump over Tennessee yet. But I think we're going to wrap up the Kentucky Prime Sports podcast with that. We will get our graphic out for our picks. Hopefully everybody can follow along, make your score predictions at home with us as well. Thanks, everybody, for listening.
Okay.